said, I just had to go, and they all I blew them away, literally. I blew them away. And like this, they are having a cocktail party, a victory party, where somewhere in heaven, and then suddenly a very shimmering being comes, called Yaksha. Another celestial being comes, uninvited, gate crashes the party, and they are very indignant. This is a private party, and we live in a gated community. How did you get in? But they are also, because it's such a luminous being, they are very attracted to him, her, it, because they couldn't even make out the gender, let alone who this person is. And Indra is too proud to go to the gate and greet the newcomer, because after all, he's the king of heaven. So he sends Agni first, go see who it is. And Agni, struts over. And before Agni can ask a question or give him the third degree, the Yaksha, the celestial being, says, who are you? It's like when you call on the phone. This is a Indian non-etiquette, I suppose, because we are not so used to phones, Maybe now we are, but we don't know how to talk and everything. Many times we will say things like this. You call somebody and somebody says hello. And then what do you say? Who is speaking? If you call, the etiquette is what? You should say, I am so and so and I wish to speak with so and so. No. In India, it's very common to say, who are you? Who is speaking? Who is that over there? So, here Agni feels very violated, because he says, well, on two counts. First of all, you came uninvited, so I am supposed to ask who goes there, halt, and instead you ask me who I am. And secondly, it's a big insult. Why? Because you are telling me that you don't know me, with whom life starts. As soon as the baby is born, the doctor will touch the baby, the midwife will touch the baby to the temperature. That is Agni in the form of the body temperature. That's why he's called Jata Vedaha. Jate Jate Vidyate, the one that is known even as a child is born. This is Agni. And Agni comes back rebuked, and and he says, okay, what can you do? The celestial says, oh, what do you mean? What can I do? I can burn anything in sight. And this Yaksha takes out a small, miserable, dry blade of grass. And Agni says, you want me to burn this? Yes. This must be a joke, because I cause forest fires every year, regularly. And you want me to burn this little blade of grass? Yaksha says, yes, let's see what you can do. And Agni says, okay, let's not bring out all the 7 big flames that are in my charge. A small one will do, like a matchstick size. Nothing happens. It doesn't even turn brown. Then he leashes all the 7 tongues of fire. Nothing happens. Then he microwaves it. Nothing happens. Sits on it. Nothing happens. Convection oven, all this, everything he does. Nothing happens. Then he just quietly shimmies away from there. And Agni and Vayu always have a standing problem with each other. And he tells Vayu, I am nobody in front of you. You please go and find out who it is. Vayu is met with the same fate. Before he can ask, who are you? Vayu, the celestial says, who is speaking, just like the Indian on the phone. And then what? Who is speaking? Who is this? And then the same blade of grass is saved. And Vayu says, I can blow anything away. And he says, try this one. And nothing happens. Vayu, unleashes sandy type of winds. Which sandy? One that we are still reeling from. Hurricane sandy type of winds. And the blade of grass doesn't even move a millimeter. Doesn't even change direction. And he also just slinks back, does not know. They both exchange glances because they know full well what happened to each of them. They tell Indra, you better go. Then Indra says, what's wrong with both of you? You can't do a simple thing. Let me go. At least the other two had some conversation with the celestial being. As he approached the celestial being disappears. And then he knows something is afoot, and he says, I better get on my knees and pray. So he prays for this truth of this celestial being to be revealed. And then the teacher in the Kathopanishad manifests as this beautiful goddess who teaches, that was Brahman. That was your own glory, which you did not recognize as what it was. You took it all as you, the jiva, doing things, and therefore this came as a teaching. Because you have enough punya, good karma, you deserve this teaching, and this is what happened. Because you forgot to acknowledge the true source of where every power comes from. And you see, and so the story goes that Indra, Agni and Vayu were enlightened where? In the celestial realms. So you see, this is something which is very beautiful, is that you need this knowledge, whether you are here or elsewhere. You cannot escape this knowledge, because this is a basic logical understanding. If what is keeping me away from the truth of myself is ignorance, then I need knowledge of the self. That's all it is. And whether I morph into a celestial being or a dog or a cat or whatever it is, I still need this knowledge. So this is what was, this is what is, I told you this story so you understand in the Vedic tradition what this celestial realm is all about. It's not automatic enlightenment. It's not moksha. Becoming a celestial is not moksha. It's moksha for a time being from being a jiva, repeatedly incarnating. It's a little bit of a freedom, that's all. It's not moksha at all. And so what is it really? It is just a little, respite from samsara. That's all it is. And so, knowing full well that this is a small respite from samsara, he was so tempted that he used the keys of the Nachiketa fire ritual to unlock this mystery, to find out what it will be like to become a celestial. This is what happened, And then yes, he has longevity more than any other jiva. Yes, he has permanence, meaning nobody can kick him out of this Yama status. And yes, it is a long permanence enjoyed much more than the regular jivas who, drop off at various ages of life and stages of life depending on what kind of life they have. But still it is a non-eternal status. And he says, that's why I'm stuck in this clearing house, in this so-called eternal clearing house of jivas. And you see what an interesting place, because you don't get to decide what celestial you'll be. That is based on your own karma. And here he was trying to, become permanent. And what happened? He used this ritual. And he was put in a place of managing the impermanence of the law of karma. It's like a divine irony. It's a celestial irony here. That the one who is the seeker of permanence, because he slipped and got derailed from his quest, is now managing, that which is the most impermanent, which is what? Just the jivas being recycled constantly. What a life, really. So then he says, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. And, then what does he say? But not for you. Nachiketa, not for you. That's implied. And you see, this shows how honest he is. Because especially if he was seen as a teacher, he could have easily said, I already came with this knowledge. I didn't have to learn, There are so many self-styled teachers around. I intuited it. I sat down and it just all came to me. I was born this way. He could have said so many things just to become more popular in Nachiketa's eyes. He could have said, this just came to me so easily. But he tells the truth. And Nachiketa, being the lover of truth, would have more Shraddha in him after this. More reverence. He would be more revered and he would be more appreciated as a result. And so therefore what? So therefore he says, anityaihi dravyaihi praptaman asmi nityam. So as a result of this pen chant, my little curiosity to find out what will happen if I do this, has led me, has consigned me to this irony. For the end of the yuga, till the whole cycle of life, the whole manifestation called the Jagat, until it demanifests, I'm stuck with this job. I'm stuck with this job. Because I took the time, and he doesn't say this, we have to assume, because he is teaching, so that means he knows. So he took the time to find a teacher there and learn. He's no longer upset about doing this job because he's enlightened and he's okay with doing what it is. But in this we hear a twinge of regret. Had I been like you, I would have avoided this. But I could not avoid this because of this temptation. You see? So this is very, very interesting because this is not just an empty talk. This is not just to praise Nachiketa. This is a big ringing bell, a warning siren for the mumukshu on the path. Who is a mumukshu? The seeker of freedom, the seeker of knowledge. So the seeker of freedom, O seeker of freedom, whoever you are, wherever you are, if this could be the lot of someone as exalted as Lord Yama, what to talk of you, all of us, what to talk of the ordinary jiva leading an ordinary life with its ordinary desires and its ordinary fears. What to talk of that? And so basically, this is the road of desire fulfillment is a shaky road. And even though it feels like it's bridging the gap between me and whatever may be on the other end. It's like Lakshman Jhula. Do you know what Lakshman Jhula is? Okay, Lakshman Jhula is a suspension bridge. And we have this on the Ganga river in Rishikesh. If you go to Rishikesh, you should walk over the Lakshman Jhula. And it's a suspension bridge. And usually, there are many such things in the world, especially in Asian countries you will find it. And the bridge shakes when you walk on it. Yeah. Usually only pedestrians are allowed because you can't have cars and everything, scooters and bipeds and tripeds and things like that. So you can only walk, and when you walk, the whole bridge shakes. And of course you are looking into the river. You're several hundred feet above the river, and the whole thing is like a jhula, means it's like a swing. It's like a swinging bridge. You can probably Google it and see swinging bridges of the world. You'll find there are many. There's one scary looking one somewhere in rural China. If you look at it, you feel dizzy because it's literally in the fog somewhere, and high mountain ranges, and it connects, I think, two mountains or something. Even if you look at the picture, you feel dizzy. So the road of desire fulfillment, so that I need not have this desire anymore. I can check off the list, whether it's bucket list or whatever it is. I can check off something on the list. This is a really wrong understanding, Yeah. And this is a wrong understanding because it comes from the premise, this understanding, it comes from the premise that there is only one life to live. That is why we find this understanding more prevalent in the West than in the East. In the East, it's like the understanding is there, even though it may not be acted upon all the time, that there is nothing in this universe that you haven't explored in some life form or the other. Even if you don't go snorkeling, that's what it's called, doesn't matter. Maybe you were a whale at some point. You were snorkeling the whole life. If you don't go scuba diving, doesn't matter. Maybe you were a shark. Maybe you were a shark. And so, so many things, we don't. It's because there is not just, everything is not over. This is not the only life, the only incarnation that you pop into and out of, and then after that there is no other choice, no other chance. We take a long durée note of life. And so therefore, so even supposing somebody has a lot of resentment and desires, unfulfilled desires, the priests that come and chant when somebody is on the deathbed, or even some elders might be there, or the relatives, even the youngsters might be there. Maybe it's a crotchety old person ready to give up this life and not ready to give up the life and having so many, unfulfilled agenda. And you know what the prayer is? May you be born in the next life. Because there's no use praying for such a person to have moksha, because they are not there yet. They're not ready. So may you be born in the next life with exactly the kind of spouse that you want, with exactly the kind of children that you desire for, with exactly the kind of house and exactly the kind of place where you want to live. This is the benediction that is given for the person departing, or just departed also, this prayer, this benediction. And what does the benediction do? It sort of creates a certain relaxation. The person is kind of relaxed. Okay, there is another time. There is a next time. I don't have to do everything right now. But for those theologies that say everything has to happen right now because there is no other chance to live this life, and heaven being unknown, you don't know whether first of all you will go there. Right? Because 50% chance of ending up in the other place is there. You don't, and then having gone to heaven, that you will like it, that is again an assumption. You don't know whether, and then supposedly it is forever. And supposedly it's outside of here. How can something outside of you be forever? You yourself are delimiting that, and that is delimiting you. Never mind that, the faulty logic of this eternal heaven. But still, even though people see, it's very difficult to desire something unknown and give up the known, correct? All I know is this samsara and these little shevadhis, little pleasures, little treasures. And now even that is being taken away from me because there's only one time around. So therefore what? One makes certain shaky choices. Therefore, it leads to this idea of hoarding. That is how capitalism came from. Yeah, you just hoard everything because there is no other life. There is no other chance. There is no other possibility. So you keep hoarding everything. That is number one, very dangerous. And number two, that hoarding also spills over to the way in which I manage my own desires and my own life. So therefore, I rush to the finish line. Finish line means death. I rush to the finish line with a whole list of things to be accomplished. I have to be doing this, I have to do that, I have to do that. Why? Because everybody does it and because I have certain specific desires to do it. So when I make that my bridge in this life, it becomes like this suspension bridge. Yeah. Shaky. And it really does not lead me to where I want. And the whole time I am in the grip of fear. Just like when one is on this bridge, one is in the grip of fear because I don't know whether I am in charge of fulfilling this or not. Because many times you are not in charge of fulfilling anything. How difficult it is to fulfill desire, tell me, it is not easy. You may set the wheels in motion, but the opposite may happen. What you want may not happen at all. Most of the time you may get less than what you want. You may get opposite of what you want. Very few times you may get exactly what you want. Even fewer times you may get more than what you want. More than what you expected never happens. So this being life. I mean, I'm not in charge of the outcome of my action. I'm only in charge of the action. What is this? From the Gita. I'm only in charge of the action, not from the outcome. Not in the outcome, I'm not interested, I'm not in charge of the outcome. So therefore, this road, the Jiva's road of desire fulfillment is a road that is, peppered with a lot of problems, lot of difficulties. So the desire fulfillment is a capitalist road, really. It's a capitalistic road. So hoarding the desires, hoarding this, because there is just this vague feeling that there is only one time I'm here. And again that's a belief. It's a belief that I'm not going to come back, correct? And also that I'm going to come back. Is it a belief?
Yeah.
That's also a belief. Both are non-verifiable. That I'm never going to come back is a belief. That I'm going to come back again and again is also a belief. Both are non-verifiable. So if you say, I don't believe in reincarnation, that's a belief, correct? Yeah.
Right.
And if you say, I believe in reincarnation, that's also a belief. So not that one is more scientific than the other. It isn't. So therefore, this is a warning shloka, a verse that warns the people. Who people? All the people who are studying this verse. It warns the people that this road of desire fulfillment, as at best, is shaky. Because, as the New Age maxim goes, be careful what you wish for, because you may actually get it. And then what? You may not want it. This is what happens. That's why I have told you repeatedly, this is how we have garage sales. Because all the things in the garage, with a poor car sitting outside, all the things inside the garage were actually choice objects that one had actually purchased and cultivated. Things that were cultivated, things that were desired, or poor desires, outdated desires are sitting in the garage. That's what it is. This was not me now. This was me 5 years ago. This was me 10 months ago. This was me 6 months ago. Doesn't matter when, but this is all me at a certain different point in time. Me based on what? The desiring me. Yeah. So this is really not me. That means what? If the desires keep changing all this time, and if you identify as the desirer, then what? Then one is constantly unfulfilled and unsatisfied. So you can never keep identifying with the changing thing. So therefore one has to identify that with that which is unchanging, which is who? The truth of the desirer. It's not away from the desires. So not away from the desirer, the truth of the desirer, the one who says I have this desire is actually free of desire. So really, what we say is you pare down all the desires, and then what happens is there is two kinds of desires. One is a desire for all these desires. One is a desire for desirelessness. That is now we are coming into our bread and butter, which is moksha. Desire for being freed of these desires that have their octopus-like tentacles around me and seem to derail me the moment I get serious about this knowledge and about what it can really do for me. This is what has to be avoided. And this is what is being repeatedly taught here in the form of Yama sharing with us his own debacle, what happened to him. And he being such an exalted person, he knowing full well that using impermanent means one does not get the permanent. He still fell into this trap. Impermanent means karma, action. That which is a product of action is not your nature. Your nature cannot be a product of action. Why?
It's finite.
Action is finite or your nature is finite?
No.
Action is finite, your nature is infinite. Finite cannot yield the infinite. And karma always have a, karma, action is finite. How much you can do is finite. How much you can donate is finite in terms of your effort, in terms of money, whatever it is. And so the result of action is also finite by the same token. And the result of action is not your nature. Your nature is not result of action. Your nature is already there. It is uncreated. It has to be understood and discovered for what it is. Next one. Kamasyaptim jagatah pratishtham kratoranantyam abhayasya param sthoma mahad
स्तोममहत्
उरुगायं प्रतिष्ठां दृष्ट्वा
उरुगायं प्रतिष्ठां दृष्ट्वा
धृत्या धीरः
धृत्या धीरः
नचिकेतो अत्यस्राक्षीः.
नचिकेतो साक्षीः.
Yeah, this we will see next time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Any questions?